Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Megan Deal on the podcast. She's a mom of five. She's coming to us all the way from Colorado, and she's fit over 40. If anyone just is even guessing that, I mean, she doesn't look a day over 25 to me, and I'm 25 myself.
Oh,
But
stop it.
oh, see, you got to compliment the guests early on, But she also follows Alexia Clark, which is another inspiration that I've been following, ever since high school, basically. But she's coming on our show to share her journey and how she got into the shape that she's in today. But Megan, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, first of all, before I depress everyone, with my winter woes, why don't you give us an update of what the weather's like in Colorado?
Cold and windy, but no snow.
No snow? No, is there literally no snow on the ground?
We got a little powdering a couple nights ago, but no, there's no snow in the forecast right now. It has snowed like 5 or 6 times since October. Yeah.
We have like 2 feet on the ground, I think, right now. It's just, ugh. It's like,
Oof.
I think our high on Thursday is going to be -3. So that I'm looking forward to that. That's always a fun time. But, yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, yep. But I don't know why I still live here. So now that I've depressed everyone with my winter woes, why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what inspired and what motivated you to get in shape and adapt this lifestyle?
Well, like you, I was an athlete as a kid. First picked in PE. I played volleyball, basketball, soccer, swimming, gymnastics. And I ran track. And my freshman year in high school, I tried out for the volleyball team and I made it. But during the summer, I had trained for cross country. And my track coach was like, "Why did you just try out for volleyball?" I'm like, "Because I want to try it." And so I said, "I'll come for indoor." And then I tried out for basketball and then I made the team. And he's like, "Oh my gosh." So he had been following me since middle school because I was the regional champ in the 1320, which is the 1200 meter, 3 laps. And then he finally got me my at the end of the my freshman year for outdoor track. And during that time, he forced me to do hurdles. And I was not happy about it. I was a little feisty back then, and so he and I shared words many times. But he was an all-American hurdler, and he saw something in me that I did not initially see myself. And by the end of my senior year, I had the second fastest time in the state of Virginia. So he knew what he was doing, and also like you, I had colleges courting me, and I narrowed it down to Virginia Tech and BYU. And then I got stress fractures, and I kept running on them. And I spent my time before practice in the trainer's room, throwing my leg in one of those ice bath whirlpools just to kind of numb the pain. And then she'd put icy hot on my shin and then wrap it up like that was gonna, fix the issue. And I kept running on it, and then I almost shattered it. So my college opportunities ended before they even started. So yeah, and then I went to college and I just played volleyball through college. I never ran again, and I don't know. I sort of stayed active, but I had never had to lose weight before in my life until um, I had my first child, and I'm like, oh, she's 6 months old, and I still have 20 pounds to lose. This really sucks. So I had never paid attention to calorie counts on things. When I was pregnant, I was like, all right, we're going to have Starbucks hot cocoa twice a day. So, and then looking back, that was 1,300 calories of hot cocoa in a day. And yeah, so when she was 6 months old, I'm like, I got to figure out what to do. Cause, I did sports, but I never like worked out. Working out was going to practice. And so I was very untrained in that department. And so I went onto Google and I Googled fastest workout to get the most effective results because I just wanted to get it done. I wanted to be back to what my pre-pregnancy weight was. And so that's when I discovered Tabata and HIIT workouts. And that's what I did. And I did it 3 times a week and I lost all 20 pounds in 2 months. Oh, and I also, I I put myself on a diet. I really limited my calories. And then once that 2 months was up, when I lost all that weight, I'm like, well, I guess I can eat again. So this is good. And so I just kept with HIIT and Tabata from that point on through my next 4 pregnancies, I never gained the amount of weight that I gained that first time, and I was able to bounce back every single time.
So were you still using Tabata and HIIT all throughout your 4 pregnancies then, or was there a certain cutoff
Oh,
point where
yeah.
you're like, "Oh, I gotta stop doing it now?"
Yeah, usually around 38, 39 weeks. My husband's like, "You gotta stop." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. I have to bounce back." So, yeah, I took it to the end. I mean, I would take the intensity down as my belly got in the way. It's hard to do, squat jumps when you're carrying 25 pounds on your stomach. So, um, yeah, I took it all the way to the end of every pregnancy.
Wow. So and yeah, just I mean, that really helps too because I mean, I started this podcast almost 2 years ago, and I've had guests come on, and there still was that myth that oh, you shouldn't train so hard when you're pregnant, or you shouldn't really go be that active. But I think it's been busted. That I mean, as long as you had that active lifestyle ahead of time, it's more than safe to continue doing it. So that's why I love bringing up that question. But like when you were getting started, I mean, HIIT is a very high intensity workout for anyone that doesn't know. That's what it stands for, high intensity or high interval training. But it's a very intense thing to get started. And do you find that it was hard for you to really get the gist of things at first? Because I feel like for a HIIT workout, someone needs to be like in really great shape just to get into that because it's so high, it's so intense.
Yeah, I'm sort of a balls to the wall right out the gate type of girl. So, I wanted to lose the weight and I was motivated. And, by the end of those workouts, I'd feel ill. I'd have headaches from exertion, but it was worth it to me because I wanted to get my body back. Because after having a baby, I mean, for me, it was so depressing what the aftermath of what you're left with. So, I was very motivated to get back as quickly as possible. And so, sometimes they tell you not to work out until like 6 to 8 weeks after the baby's born. With most of mine, I started around 3 to 4 weeks just because I wanted to get back. So don't tell my doctor.
No, and it works different for every other person. And I mean that kind of leads me into my next question where I love to talk about genetics because so many people, especially in this day and age, they look on Instagram and they just say, oh, I want his arms or I want her abs or I just want this body part of this person. They don't realize that that is not attainable for you. You can just be the best version of yourself. And a lot of people just struggle with that because it's always constantly comparing themselves to others. But I always say whenever someone is new or when they start after a prolonged period of time of not working out, whenever they get started working out again, there's always that one body part that really, really takes off. And then there's always that one body part that really just lags behind that they basically have to train it into oblivion to catch it up. I mean, I'll give you my examples first. I had jobs all throughout college of working, in warehouses where you either got a nice back or you quit. So that was my body part that really, really took off. But I'm also 6'3", so my legs and my lower body are just absolutely shot. Where I mean, I have to train them into overdrive just to get them to look like any semblance like I've ever worked them out a day in my life. I mean, I still have friends in the gym that when I walk in, they say, "Oh, hey Ryan, you plan on working legs anytime this year?" And then I'm just like, "Okay, come on, you saw me
Yeah, come
training
on, you guys are
yesterday."
jerks.
Well,
Don't be
they
jerks.
think they're all fun and games and stuff, but and then I always said like with calves, I could inject pure muscle into my calves and they wouldn't grow an ounce. I mean, it's a mystery to me. But what were those body parts for you when you were getting started?
Um, I don't know. I'm pretty well balanced. So I'm one of those girls that even though I was pregnant, you could still see abs on top of the baby. I don't know.
Can
I
I
I
just say,
think
everyone? I'll show some of her Instagram photos. She has like for a mom of five that she still has abs like that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Like looking at some of her posts, it just makes you want to go to the gym.
I'm like kind of really inspirational. No, I think actually, if you want to get into the Alexia Clark thing, that's sort of where things really shifted for me because I found myself sort of like I thought I was starting to get like sandbags on the back of my legs, and I'm like, oh no, this is terrible, And I was approaching 40, and I was still doing the hit and Tabata. And one of your myths that you were talking about, how girls going into the gym they don't want to put on 50 pounds of muscle. Well, that was me. I was afraid that if I lifted weights, I was going to get huge, and I would lift weights, but like we're not talking over 10-pound dumbbells, at the most. That's where I'm maxed out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get huge. And then as I was approaching 40, I'm like, crap, everything's going to go down in the toilet from what I understand. And so I wanted to try to get ahead of that. And so when I started, I did one workout of Alexia Clark's, just one of her Instagram workouts, and holy crap, I had my butt handed to me. I'm like, this is the answer for me. And I signed up later that day, and I'm actually hitting my 2.5 years with her in 2 days. And in that entire time, her program is 5 days a week. And in 2.5 years, I've only missed two workouts that entire time. So I'm like consistent. You can't get more consistent than I am. My discipline is through the roof. But what I noticed when I started doing her program, the first two places that I felt an immediate change were my core and my legs. It was almost empty back there where my hamstrings are. Like, wow, it's like filling in. And I went through a period where um, I did put on like 7 or 8 pounds. I'm like, this sucks. I used to be crazy about weighing myself twice a day. And then after a while, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna stop doing these workouts because this is my answer. And so I just chucked the scale. I'm like, why am I gonna punish myself for exercising and working out? And so I did get a little thicker, not in the way I wanted to. But I trust the process. She's always like, trust the process. And then I don't know. I guess about a year in, I started slimming back down. And then and at that point, I hadn't been weighing myself, so I have no idea what I weighed. And then someone on Instagram made a comment maybe a month ago and was like, "Oh, you look like you're leaning out even more." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know about that." And so I stepped on the scale. I'm like, "Okay, well, I've lost all that weight that I had put on, so I don't know what's going on." But it's like the heavier I lift, the leaner I get. So I'm not complaining. I'm all about that because I don't want to look like a man. And I do lift as heavy as possible. Like I can do it. When I first started, I couldn't do a Bulgarian split squat body weight. It was awful. I mean, I maybe got like two or three in, and then my quads are like, what is this? This is terrible stuff. And now I can do 80 pounds on Bulgarian split squats. So, I mean, you look at my quad pictures, they're shredded. And I think it's 100% because of that godforsaken exercise. So,
Yeah, I mean, I cannot tell you how many times after leg day. I mean, I just want to sit in my bed the whole next day and just not even get up. But you got to do it. But I mean, so many people when they get started working out, they don't understand the nutrition aspect. I mean, that's 85% of it. I mean, you can work out all you want, but if you're eating unhealthy foods and you still have an unhealthy diet, I mean, not much is going to change. You might get a little bit bigger, but that's just because you're just putting on more. But I mean, your nutrition has to be so on point. What would you say is probably the biggest nutritional change that you made when you really got started taking things seriously?
um, honestly, my answer sucks for this. Uh, I get this question all the time because, my abs look really good for someone my age and someone with 5 babies and for someone who's a girl. Um, my I went on a gluten-free diet like 17 years ago before it was really trendy and cool. So I'm kind of a trendsetter. If you're wondering who started that whole gluten-free trend, it was me. Um, and just because celiac disease was running thick in my family, and like there's just a whole group of us that collectively went off gluten, and I was one of those. So I've never been tested for celiac. I just went off, and I feel better without it. Um, but my diet's not perfect. I'm 80% healthy. Like every day I eat a huge plate of raw veggies and I try to get my fruits in, but I eat garbage. I got 5 kids, and I don't drink alcohol. I've never even sipped alcohol in my life. So I need a vice. So my vice is salted chocolate caramels, and I eat those on the daily. So I would say my diet's about 80% healthy, 20% garbage. So I'm one of those that can get ripped without having to be 100% in the kitchen. So I'm the worst.
I always say on the podcast, I always have to do an asterisk because I always say to people, there will be someone that you meet in your life, just those genetically blessed freaks that can, get away with it. I mean, I have a friend who he can eat 10 Snickers bars a day and, he still looks like he's, at like 1% body fat. And I just hate him with a passion. But yep,
Oh, he's a jerk.
yeah,
What a jerk.
they
Why are you
do
even friends
exist.
with him?
Well, I mean, he's a good wingman. I'll be honest. I mean, if he
Okay.
when he looks like that, so it's I put up with it. I put up with it. So but yeah, Adam, I like you, but I mean, it's like, come on, dude. I do think that maybe like God's playing a cruel trick on him, and hopefully one of these days he's gonna wake up and he's gonna have put on like 100 pounds of fat overnight. So I am
Well,
waiting for that
that can
day.
happen. That can.
I am.
Let's pray for
Yeah.
that for
Yeah.
Adam,
Oh, I do every
a
night.
little
I pray for that
humility.
every night. So hopefully, hopefully that
Hopefully
happens one of
Adam's
these days.
body goes to hell.
Adam, we are wishing for that. So, hopefully that does happen. But going back to your journey, I mean, having 5 kids, your time management, what is that like? Because, I mean, just having 5 kids in and of itself, you basically can't do anything else other than, be with the kids. So how are you able to manage that?
Well, I ignore them a lot. I neglect. No, I'm just kidding. I get my workouts in before they're awake. So, like this morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. My alarm's set for 5, but you know, I know it's awful. It's so awful. But I'm more of a morning person anyway. So between 4 or 5, I get up and I'm try to be in the gym, my home gym, by about 5 a.m. to get it done before they get up. Because if I wait later in the day, they're too needy. Kids are so needy. Oh, mom. So I get it done so that I can have it with no interruptions. Get it done so that no one's bugging me.
How long do your workouts usually last?
Well, now that I film it, that's a funny thing. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But now that I film it, it takes a little longer. So I would say about 90 minutes or so. But before I give myself 60 to 90 minutes depending on the day.
When did you decide that you wanted to start an Instagram profile on this?
You know, it's funny. It was my husband who was pushing me to do it. I'm like, I don't know. He's like, you can inspire people. I'm like, who's going to be inspired by some stay-at-home mom? Some middle-aged woman who, you know. But he was right. I get messages from women all over the world. They're just, I'm so inspired by you, and I watch your workouts every day, and you help me get off the couch and get it done. And it's like the coolest thing ever. Um, so it was him. He's the one who pushed me to do it, and I've I have maybe 3 selfies in the last 10 years until I started this Instagram account. I'm so critical of the way I look. I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at my face. Um, and so where I was working out, we didn't even have mirrors in there. So I don't know. I didn't know what my form looked like. I had no idea. So I'm like, okay, we're going to start recording this, cause I felt like a badass doing these work. These are like next level hard workouts. This is not for a beginner. And when I started, I went all in. Like some women will ease into it, they'll do a couple circuits. I'm like, no, we're going all 5. And that worked for me. I adjusted quickly. It hurt. Like after that first day, I have never been more sore in my entire life, and I thought maybe I shouldn't work out the next day because I thought I might be damaging myself. But I'm like, nope, I'm paying for this. It was the first program I ever paid for, so I'm like, you're paying for it, you're doing it. And so fast forward to May of this past year, I started this Instagram, and it took these isolated, solitary workouts and just expanded them to the world. And it's just the coolest thing, just connecting with the other Queen team members and just the fitness community in general. It's the coolest thing. It's made it such an enriching experience, and then just seeing that my form through these videos doesn't completely suck was like really a nice gift. Because you don't want to put stuff up and then you look like some poser, or like, gosh, that girl, what is she doing? She's gonna hurt herself. But so far, no one's been like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I look like I know what I'm doing. But, I'm Alexia's soldier. She tells me what to do, and I do it.
Well, and that's why I love having health and fitness guests on, because it is such a positive environment. I mean, we see on all these posts, all these positive comments that people leave, and it really is an environment where people generally care about each other. So I love to just help bring that positivity on as well. But we are now almost 2 weeks removed from New Year's Eve in the new year, the new decade. The gym is still going to be absolutely flooded with New Year's resolutioners, and I get a little sad when I think about that, because there's been studies released that only like 15 to 20% of people actually accomplish their New Year's resolutions, because a lot of people they go into the gym without setting specific goals, so then they just go in there, they do like what you're talking about, where they just work so hard on the first day that they just become so sore the next day that they don't want to go in. So then some of them only last a couple of weeks, and there's always the joke that, I mean, if you want to go to a gym, go in February because the gym's going to be completely empty. What advice do you have for people trying out to get healthy and fit now, especially in the new year, so that they can stick with it? Because a lot of times just the motivation can really be lacking for some people.
Yeah, I think just choose a program that you're going to be able to stick with. You know, if you're doing something that you're miserable doing, and honestly, some of Alexia's workouts are miserable. They're so hard. Leg days give me anxiety. But then you're like, oh, this sucks. But then when it's over, like, oh, that was the best thing ever. Um, just choosing something that you can stick with and then committing to being consistent. Um, I don't know what I mean. For me, it's a non-issue because I my consistency is just insane. But I think if I didn't like Alexia's workouts, I probably wouldn't be showing up to do them, you know? So,
Have you always been consistent in a lot of things in life, or was it just a trait that you really picked up for this?
I've always been pretty consistent. Once I decide I'm in, I'm all in. You know, I've been married for almost 21 years. Once I decided he was the man, I mean, it was him and me from that moment on. But what I guess what really helped my discipline with the working out is my husband's an artist, and so you can imagine that whole starving artist thing. It's real and it sucks, and we went through that, and it was hard. I mean, we knew 100% it was the right path to go on, but it was just so hard. There's so much you don't have any control over in your life, and I knew the only thing I had control over was getting a workout in. And so that was my saving grace through those years that were so hard. Okay, I'm not sure if he's going to sell anything, but I'm going to go get that workout done. So that's
Your
what
husband
helped
your
build
husband
my
didn't know that all he
discipline.
needed to do was pull a Van Gogh and cut his ear off, and then he'd be like the most famous artist in the world.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm happy he has both of his ears. Uh,
No, and
no,
that
I mean, he's great now. He's a
no, yeah,
champ. I
and
used to go show up at Sundance and hang out with a bunch of celebrities. He's like, "You're not going. I don't trust you around Jason Momoa." I'm like, "What?"
so
So,
what? So what? You can show Jason Momoa that you have better abs than him, or something like that. That would make like the
uh,
celebrity news headlines. So
exactly. I don't want to hurt his feelings,
yeah,
but
that's true, I guess. But I mean, going back onto this, I mean, sleep is so undervalued, I think, to so many people when it comes to the health and fitness lifestyle. I mean, you almost never hear it posted about on Instagram or talked about, but it is the most important thing when it comes to recovery, and one of, if not the most important thing, just when it comes to the health and fitness lifestyle in general. I mean, if you don't work out, I mean, it's essential enough as it is, but if when you're living this lifestyle, it is so much more important. And I mean, I always say one of my favorite guests, I had the number one sleep specialist on the planet come on, and he called me all the way from Oxford in the UK. And first of all, he had one of those British accents where you felt like you gained 10 IQ points just from talking to him. Where
oh, those
I just told him,
fancy Brits.
oh yeah, I just told him, I said, you're gonna talk the entire time and I'm gonna listen. Like I don't want to even interrupt you, but we talked about the importance of sleep. And I mean, especially being a mom of five, your sleep must be very, very important to you. What are some tricks or tips that you have for people to get the proper amount of sleep if you're able to maintain this lifestyle? Because I'm one of those people where if I don't get my right amount of sleep, I just cannot work out. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm a monster if I don't get enough sleep. Like I turn into Dragon Lady. It's not good. So it is in everyone's interest not to wake me up. In fact, if our kids wake up in the middle of the night, they are instructed to go to their father to wake him up because he can fall right back to sleep. But I can't. I'm up. If they come in at 2, they're like, "Oh, my tummy hurts." I'm up from 2 on. But for us, we ran a tight ship. Um, we set those kids' schedules up from the beginning, and they all know like 7:30 they're in their rooms, and then I can't keep my eyes open past like 8:39. So um, by default, I get plenty of sleep just simply because I can't stay up late. So for other people, I just set a schedule and stick to it.
Well, I also gotta say, turn off electronic devices too as well. That's a big one for me that I struggled with, especially staying up late sometimes editing these podcasts. Even last night, I looked in the clock. Oh, it's 2:30 in the morning. I might want to go to bed now. That might be something I might be interested in. So yeah, that's just a constant thing too. Is if you turn off electronics, it just becomes so much easier. And for anyone else out there, melatonin has been one thing that I found that just it works wonders on me. Like you take it, 15 minutes later, you are knocked out. So that's one thing
I've
that
never tried that. I might want to try that.
you should. I mean, yeah, it's and they got some really nice flavors too. Like it literally tastes like a dot, like those dots that you get in like movie theaters, like that movie theater candy. It
Like
tastes
the
like that.
old oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it literally
Like
tastes like that. They
kinda
have a
like the
cherry flavored one.
gummies, kinda
Yeah,
like yeah, yeah.
yeah, it tastes literally just
Yeah.
like that. So I was like, oh yeah, it's not so bad. But being that you also are a mom of five, how important is it for you to serve as an inspiration to your kids to prove to them that, like, hey, you can live a healthy and fit lifestyle, especially in this day and age with the obesity crisis and a lot of people are struggling to stay in shape? How important is that for you to just serve as that positive example for your kids?
Oh, totally. I don't want them to get sick, you know? When you live a healthy lifestyle, you avoid so many health issues. Now, I've heard of, there people get cancer and, have heart disease even if they are active, but you can really combat a lot of that preemptively just by staying healthy. And for my kids, I want them to be healthy, and they pay attention to what I'm doing. Like one day my daughter came in, she's like, "Mom, how are your push-ups doing?" And then another day, my son, my little 5-year-old, he comes up the stairs and he's like, "Oh, my legs hurt. Leg day was so rough." And I'm like, "You're a little jerk. You're making fun of me, but I could crush you. You have no idea, little guy. I could crush you. I made you and I will crush you." No, but it's really important,
Can I just say
and
that's the same thing that my 5'3" mom says to me, and I'm 6'3". She still goes, "I can still crush you," and I was like, "Okay, I believe it, I guess, yeah."
she can crush
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I'm 100% on that. No, and like I eat healthy, at lunchtime. That's when I eat all my raw veggies, and so my kids, they take raw fruits and veggies to school for their lunches, and they said that they're the only kids at school that are eating fruits and vegetables at lunch. I'm like, "What are these parents feeding their kids? Why would you do that to them?" I don't want my kids to be hyper, so they have to eat healthy. I'm trying to combat a lot of the behavioral issues that kids have too, and my kids don't have any issues really. I mean, they're kids, they're nuts, and but they're healthy, so they're running around, but they're not hyper, and they can get themselves under control with a stern look and a smolder.
Hey, that always works, and like I always say, there've been studies multiple times proving that, if you're raised in a healthy environment, the kids are vastly, vastly more likely to maintain that lifestyle later on in life. So that's just great what you're doing. But two questions that I love to ask everyone that I have on for health and fitness. I mean, for me, there were so many positives with working out and getting bigger and stronger, but one of the negatives is that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars or balled water or anything that's sealed on tight. You're basically the go-to strength person. I'm still at home for the next 2 months before I move out, and every single time my parents come home with groceries, I basically have to lift the car into the driveway and carrying the groceries myself. Has that been a similar experience with you? Have people have noticed that you've gotten, more in shape, that they just expect favors from you?
No, in fact, they're more afraid of me. They're just so intimidated by the strength and the smolderiness that just emanates from me. So no one asks. They're just scared.
God,
Don't be
you are
scared.
you are so lucky. You get to live the best of both worlds. But I always said, being a guy and being 6'3", I could have zero muscle at all, and I'd still get asked all the time. But going on to that too, I mean, like,
Yeah.
you are not the average 40-looking-year-old woman who's a mom of five. What is that like? Because I always say, if you like to go out in public, especially during the summer, I mean, you're good. You can get looks. I always say you kind of become like a mini celebrity where people just become fascinated by it. What has that experience been like as you've sort of adjusted to the fact that you are an enigma if you were to walk out into the middle of a crowd?
Well, I'm not walking out in the middle of a crowd with my abs showing, so or my quads, so they don't know the hidden gems underneath
Even
those
if it's like
clothes.
100 degrees outside, you're still rocking long sleeve shorts and stuff.
Well, I don't really wear shorts
Yeah.
much. I'm more of a leggings girl,
Oh
but,
yeah.
I don't know. With my husband's career, it's more like I don't want people to be like, "Ugh, Greg Deal's wife is gross," because as he gets more famous, I wanna look good for, his openings and stuff like that, and so,
Has he ever
um,
painted you as a self portrait?
he has done a few things with me, but I'm not very cooperative,
Oh yeah. Well, see, I could never
so
sit still for that amount of time that it would take to do something. I would just be fidgeting after like 5 minutes and being like, "Come on, you got the general gist of things. I'll just leave and you can finish it up." So
yeah, no, he doesn't use me because 'cause I'm not a willing participant. So, my kids are better for that.
yeah, well, I was gonna say, for your Christmas cards, he could just do a family portrait. Basically, he could just paint one.
Exactly. So
See, we're thinking of ideas right here. I mean, we're just cranking out these ideas. But yeah, I'll actually leave a link to some of his artwork too down below, because I'm actually fascinated by that. So if anyone wants to go and check that out after listening to this podcast, I'll leave a link down there. But now, I mean, one for fit guys, there's always a lot of clothing option problems that happen, but for fit women, I always found it, vastly more bigger. Where, I mean, if you have big, broad shoulders, dresses aren't your best friend. Jeans are another thing that we hear of all the time. Where, if you have a big lower body and a small waist, good luck finding jeans that work for you. What have been some ways that you have found that you're able to compensate for the fact that at times your clothing selection can be very limited?
well, for me, that's actually no issue at all. I'm one of those jerks that, it's just very easy to wear clothes. My size is, I'm a small and it's just everything fits fine. Go on.
How's bragging
Hate
camp
on,
working for
haters.
you?
Huh?
How's bragging camp working for you?
Well, I'm not
Yeah, no,
only a member,
hey,
I'm the president.
hey, hey, hey,
So
hey! If I looked like that, I would brag all the time too. You kidding me? That's just, I mean, but and that's great that you have that clothing option thing because so many times we have guests that deal with that. And I always say if anyone were to come up with some real clothing options, I mean, you'd be a millionaire just based on all the guests that I've talked to and saying about how much they want that as a change. But now, if you could change one thing about the health and fitness lifestyle, what would it be?
just that more people would join in, honestly. Like, I just join, get moving. My mom, I don't know how we're related sometimes. She does everything in her power not to exert any muscle power. And she would avoid a lot of the health issues she has if she would have just made better choices growing up and into adulthood. She's always like, I'm concerned about you. You need to be thinking of your children. And I'm like, I am thinking of my children. And that's why I am working out. Number one, so I don't kill them. And number two, just so that I can add that life onto my span, however long I have here.
Do you ever do the thing that like a lot of people do on Instagram sometimes where like they use the kids as weights, like if they're like on your back when you're doing like squats or something? Do you ever do that so you can incorporate some quality time with them?
um, it's more used for punishment
That's
when
well,
they're
hey,
getting out of line. They got to do some wall sits, or they were talking smack about push-ups one day, and so I'm like, let's see your push-ups, and their push-ups, their form is garbage.
you can just
Um,
literally flex on them and then they'll just get scared then and then you'll just be like,
I
don't mess with me.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
Yeah, they can't hang.
yeah,
They can't hang.
I mean,
No,
well,
I've never picked them up to do squats or anything like that because I don't want to hurt myself.
that should be one of their punishments though. It's like you have to work out with mommy then for the next morning then. Just force her to
My
get up at 4.
my oldest daughter, I had her do some Alexia workouts, and she's like, "This is horrible. I hate this." So I was trying to help her get in shape for track, and she just wasn't having it. I think maybe she didn't like me in there with her, so I'm hoping that one day she'll just pick it up when she can just do it on her own without me.
No, yeah,
So
and that's awesome. If we were to talk to you again a year from today, what are some goals that you would like to have achieved? I mean, what are you thinking about a year from today? Like, where would you like to be at in your life?
just I don't have these crazy specific goals. Just to find joy and humor every day. Life is full of adversity, just trying to find a reason for it and just growing from it and laughing at it, because really, if you can't find laughter in life, you're doing it wrong,
And people tend
and
to take
so
things way too seriously too.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Which is, I mean, you are a great guest on the podcast because yeah, I have way too many people sometimes that come on and they're way too serious and it's like, just chill out, just calm down, take a chill pill, relax. But no, yeah,
No, I'm like the opposite. I was very tame. I was concerned, like, when I do stuff that makes me a little nervous, like something like this, I am a complete jackass. And like, if you watch my stories on Instagram, it's a jackass show. And I'm surprised I haven't lost a ton of followers over the
I was
crap
gonna
I put
comment.
up.
I was like, she's a lot tamer than I thought she would be. She's a lot more calm down and more chill. But hey, Instagram, it's completely different, and you can be really whoever you want to be. But I mean, and that's just great too. I mean, and again, you inspire so many people, and just with your followers and everything, and just like you said, all those messages that you get. Honestly, I mean, it's just such an inspirational thing. But if we were to talk again, also, I mean, what are some areas that you want to improve on the most when it comes to your working out? Are there like any goals that you have, like, oh, I want to do this many pull-ups, or I want to do like this much weight for this exercise? Are there any goals that you're currently working towards in the lifting part?
Well, one of my goals was to hit my body weight in squats. I was afraid of the barbell, so I hadn't touched a barbell. We had a barbell. I wasn't going near that thing because I was gonna, knock a hole through the wall. But I started using it maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and it's a game changer. I'll admit it. I shouldn't have been scared of the barbell, but I was afraid of it. And my goal, and I'm not one of those people that writes it down because it's like more just like a I don't know, it's a lifestyle. I don't have a like one, okay, I've hit this goal and now we're done. We're not gonna work out anymore. I wanted to be able to squat my body weight by like maybe March, and I did it today. So we're a little ahead of schedule. And that I know, gosh. what can't this girl do? She's amazing.
Now you gotta squat
My
twice your body weight then. Now that's the goal then for the rest of
yeah, no, I don't want to go that high. I don't know. I don't know what my body would look like being able to
the
squat that much. It's scary. I think pull-ups. Pull-ups is one of those things. I was working on them for a while there, and then I like this little muscle back here, kind of in your back. Um, it turns out you don't use it very often because I didn't. I heard it when I was learning, trying to push my pull-ups, and the day I got my unassisted pull-ups is the same day I pulled it. And so I had to take like 6 weeks off or something like that. And then Alexia put in some pull-ups last week and the week before, and I'm like, all right, let's see if we can do them again without getting hurt. And I was able to get 4 unassisted each round, so I didn't lose too much strength, so that was good. But I would like to maybe be able to do 10 unassisted, maybe by the end of the year. So I'm not going to work too hard on them because I don't want to strain that muscle again. But when it comes up, I'll keep pushing it. I've been doing those negative push or pull ups, where you're like just slowly going down. I can do about 45 seconds on my down, so that's pretty bad. My body is like shaking like I'm having a seizure, but I can hold it. I have to shut my mind off while I'm doing it. Like, don't pay attention to the shaking. Um, but yeah, maybe get better with my pull ups and maybe make my arms look more shredded. I think my quads are on
more
point.
shredded? They're not shredded enough?
I mean, they're looking pretty shredded, but maybe my biceps could look a little better.
You know. Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know. And
yeah.
I want to see if maybe the abs below my belly button can get even more cut.
Yeah, let's get those abs even more cut because they're not cut enough already. Let's just make it so that it's literally just like a river down there. I mean, just like in between the
Yeah,
separate.
like,
Yeah.
how much more shredded can I possibly get?
Let's just remove all the skin anyway. Let's just make it that shredded. We're like you can literally just see the bones and the muscles like literally just out of the skin. Yeah.
Let's just remove all fat
Yeah.
and just,
Just remove all. Yeah. I mean that's basically
let's see if I can become a Greek goddess.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, she could probably do that by the end of the year if she keeps up the way she's doing. But I mean, yeah, and again, everyone just go and give her a follow because it is such an inspiration, watching her do her workouts. And is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Um, just hey Queen team, hi Alexia Clark, love you guys. You guys are the best.
I've been trying to
I met Alexia.
I've been trying to get her on, but she hasn't responded back yet.
No, she's a busy woman.
I
She's hard
know.
to get a hold of, but she had a Queen team retreat back in October, and so we went out there. I went out there. It was the first time. It's literally the first time I ever left my children to do something for myself. Like if I left my kids, it was because I was going to the hospital to have another one. And so this is the first time I ever did something for myself. My husband's like, "You're going. You have to go." I'm like, "Oh no." But I went and it was so awesome. And when I met her, I'm like, I know you don't know me. She's like, I know exactly who you are. I'm like, no, you don't. She's like, you have the best abs. I'm going to be doing your Wow Wednesday. It's coming up soon. I'm like, okay, maybe you do know me. She's like, you have the best legs too. And she's just the sweetest. She's this tiny little thing, and she's so sweet, and I just love her. And she's a little badass. She's just this beautiful little thing, and she exudes just kindness and badassery. That's a really killer combo.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I couldn't agree more. And everyone definitely go and give her a follow. And again, Megan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and just keep serving as an inspiration to everyone. I mean, like I said, I'll leave a link down below to your Instagram or everyone, but I'm just going to give a warning to everyone. It will inspire you to get off the couch and stop eating all those Twinkies and, get in shape. But again, Megan, we cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story. And honestly, we wish you nothing but the best in all of your future endeavors.
thank you.
All
I
right.
just threw a smolder.
Just through a small, yeah. I mean, she could. That's like a
I'll
Derek
do the
Zoolander. That's
smolder.
like a Derek Zoolander Blue Steel kind of thing going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
If you can't hang with the smolder, then you can't hang.
you can't hang. Well, I mean, some people got to work on their grip strength then if they can't hang. But other than that, again, Megan, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.